Hey you guys, I've gotten some recent disturbing screenshots that I will put in the comment of this live. I don't know where the confusion happened, but I think that somehow it has gotten back to the mambo from my former house that I am out here besmirching her name, calling her fraud, a number of things. And it's unfortunate. I know that in my experience with her, things that would go on here in this country would get confused. I'd often been accused of saying things about her or about situations that I have not. So we all know last week there was this big issue with the Myriad. An issue with a house that I don't even belong to. All that I have said in this entire situation is that I don't belong to any house. Because I have known the people involved in the Myriad, which has nothing to do with Haitian voodoo. For some reason, it's gotten tied up and convoluted in the I guess the internet confusion of this cult of personality. So here's the deal. I didn't even want to be part of that Myriad conversation, but someone went into Daisy's group and tried to say I was a fraud. And it was based on one of the associates of people, how'd you hear, that were in the Myriad. Mind you, like I said, a house that I don't have anything to do with, no initiations, none of that. In fact, I spent a lot of time being very clear that they should take my name out of any, because it was reported to me that there was documentation that I was a friend of their house in their handbook. I went to Siete back in May of this year and spoke to him about that. So my posts have been hoodoo related. My comments, my videos, my discussions this week have been related to what has happened in the Myriad. It has nothing to do with me being out of my voodoo house, which for none of those reasons, those things that you've seen that people were talking about were happening in the Myriad, that's not why I left my house. And to me, personally, because what goes on in our house stays in our house, I don't feel like I have to discuss why I left my voodoo house. I've never accused my mambo of being a fraud. My former mambo. I left the house because there were certain things personally that I did not feel were right for me. I left my house because I also felt that when there was a difficult situation going on, instead of speaking to me and talking to me, the members of my house chose to go directly to Mambo, who I've always had an excellent relationship with, rather than to talk to me about why I said something about a particular situation that involved my business. And yes, I could go on, and maybe the time now is to explain everything that happened and why I felt that it was best for me not to be a part of my voodoo house anymore. But I was appalled this morning to find out, I left my house and what I thought was love with my mambo, and not really actually being able to tolerate the behaviors of certain members of my house. And then the lack of support that I felt like I got when I had an issue. That's why I left my house. I have not besmirched her name, but it's funny because I have asked several people who are initiated in these traditions and people who are not, should I take the name Mambo off of my page? Mambo says she has requested multiple times for me to take it off. She has not. She requested that we all put our rank in our information online. And I did that. And even in doing so, she was accusing me of arguing with her about it. You know, I was told that I don't know anything because I'm a Supuin, and you can see from this post that she made about me when I haven't made any posts about her. I haven't discussed outside of my personal circle of friends. I have not even posted the emotional distress of having leave my house cost me. I mean, if I'm not on Mambo, I went and I got initiated. If I was supposed to remove the title upon leaving the house, I was not instructed to do so. Honestly, I feel that with any organization, if there are things going on that don't sit right with me, what I've seen is eventually what you saw with the Myriad will happen. And when I felt certain things and went to my Mambo, because I always went to my Mambo, I didn't go run tell that with any other members of my house. Mambo and I have been extremely close for years, and you know, I could talk to her. So if she told me this, and that's another thing I've always done as I was advised, it is very upsetting that I think that somehow this situation with the Myriad has now been convoluted into my own situation, because all I'll let people know, because I am honest and I am transparent, was that I was leaving my house. Period. So that if there was anything down the line with that particular organization or any organization, I would not be a part of it. That is why I left my house. I was directed by Spirit to leave my house. What I was not directed to do was to slander and make public statements about a very private situation. Mambo used to always say that if I knew she was a fraud, that I would scream it from the rooftops, because she knows how I am and she knows my behavior, that I don't go for dishonest stuff. And, you know, even if I smelled impropriety, you know, I would say something. I've never once went to my Mambo and said that I thought she was a fraud. I'd never badmouthed her, or even the situation that broke my heart in public. You know, when we talked about this, and we've talked about this several times, I'm like, what, I'm not supposed to be able to talk to my friends when I'm going through something really bad? And like I said, even now, I really just don't even see the need to go through personal information about why I decided to leave my voodoo house, because in the end, based on how I felt about the situation, yeah, it could look like I was talking smack. It would not be favorable if I went and discussed my personal situation with the internet. It was absolutely unnecessary for me to do so. But, you know, she's asked me to remove the name Mambo from my title when I, you know, this has come to me by screenshot. This did not come to me from her voice in any of our conversations. But I'll remove it. It is. It's not anybody's business. But I understand that when you are out here and you are speaking up, because what I've been speaking up for this entire week has been a situation that is completely, it has gotten really crazy. my former mambo has put out a statement that I have been bashing her name in the streets, that I have been calling her a fraud. I stepped away, y'all. And, you know, I tell you all the time, don't put your business on Facebook. Don't let people know the things that are really upsetting you and really bothering you. My former mambo has been getting information from other people that I have been out here besmirching her name. She has blocked me on Facebook. Members of the house has blocked me on Facebook. She put a public statement with my real government name that I needed to remove the name Mambo from my title. I haven't told you all why I left my house. I don't feel as though it was anybody's business. I wasn't violating Reglement. I didn't believe that they were violating Reglement. It was a personal situation where I was not being heard. A personal situation where I'd helped, but I still wasn't being heard. I'd always supported my house. I've always supported my mambo, both emotionally and financially. And when a personal situations, right, nobody's talked about their issues with the house. There are several people who have left the house who have come to me. And it's just like mind-blowing to me because I'm not out here trashing her name in the streets. I loved her because she had love for me, an extensive knowledge of not only voodoo, but the occult. I don't feel like I was taught incorrectly. I own the fact that there was a lot of times where I was working and I couldn't learn as much as I wanted to. But this time last year, I was preparing to go down there and be with her. And, you know, when something goes on with my friends in my spiritual family, I should be able to talk to my mambo about it. I didn't see people trying to resolve the situation where I was actually made to be a villain for doing something to protect my business and to be honest. And I left. And that's it. There's a lot of moving parts to it. There's a lot of heartbreak. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of grief. But I'm not trying to build my own anything. And I definitely don't feel like tearing down other people is a way to brighten your own shine. This is absolutely heartbreaking. Consider the fact that when I left my house and to this day, and I don't know if this gets any worse, then maybe I will have to explain all of the reasons why I left my house. When people have come to me and asked me about voodoo and, you know, who to initiate under, you know, I can't advise anybody anymore. But I most definitely don't sit up and drag the people of this community, and I do not drag my initiatory mother. So I guess in her opinion, I am not a mambo. Okay. All right. Then I really did want to take that off of my name because I don't practice voodoo with my clients. Voodoo is my religion. I use the ancestors. I work from a hoodoo perspective. I don't do work for people short of lighting a candle. I don't do work, even though we were instructed to and allowed to do so with the spirits for clients. Why? Because I felt like I had so much more learning to do. I did not go back to Haiti to get my Asan because I did not want I didn't want to be a mambo. I definitely didn't want to go get my Asan, because when you get an Asan, you are able to have godchildren. I don't even speak Creole well. I've been very honest. And and that's, Laura, that's exactly what it feels like. There's a lot of things I could say about how I feel used. There's a lot of things that I could say that would just really not look good for my former house. I did none of that. When I got on Facebook Live last week, when I made any of my posts, when I was talking about abuse, I was talking about the myriad. All I have ever said is that I left my former house, period, for personal reasons. But somehow it has now gotten back to my former mambo, and just like she did before, she come to me. She didn't ask for clarification. She made the assumption that somehow all this time I've been out here. Y'all, most of you all don't even know I left my house in October. I left my voodoo house in early October and didn't tell anybody but my closest friends. And see, that's the thing about this. It was grief for me. The very few people, couldn't count them on both hands, that had any insight to this situation, knew that it actually broke my heart to leave. But I had to stand on my beliefs and what I believed was right, and how you treat people that you're supposed to care about. I didn't feel like I was getting it. And Christina, we had a conversation. People come to me and said, oh, I've bought this retreat, I've done this, I'm initiating. I'm like, that's a decision you are going to have to make for yourself. I can't woo you either way about that. But it's real fucked up. Because I loved my mambo. I loved my house. She has come to me before and accused me of saying things that have never come out of my mouth. But when I sprained my rotator cuff, it was very clear that I wasn't cared about. There were lots of instances and situations that let me know that not only was she not willing to listen to me, that people in my own house didn't even wish me well. And so I left. I couldn't believe this screenshot. I haven't put out anything against that house or its members. And then, one of the things is that I tell people, you're gonna have to make that decision for yourself. Because for certain people, mambo is very beneficial to you, helps you with your spiritual growth. I never went to anybody in that house and told anybody anything that wasn't true. I've been the mediator in a lot of situations when people had issues or disagreements, because that's what happens. People are people. I left my house because of people situations that I didn't want to get tied up in, because I could see certain people going in a certain way that, won't reflect well on the house in the end. But that was my personal thought, that I didn't want to be associated. But bigger than that, because there is a situation where all of these things are coming out. As you can see, these leaders are being exposed and shut down. And I ain't never want to be anybody's leader. All I ever wanted to do was serve the Loa, do divinations for people, and sell magical goods. That's all I ever wanted to do. I didn't want to be a mambo. And I didn't take that title lightly. And I asked her before I put it up if I should. And she wanted me to. You know. But this has nothing to do. I have not. You tell me one person, y'all come out here in the streets, you find screenshots, you find anything where I have sat up and said she was a fraud, where I have badmouthed her, or the things that I've learned and the time that I've spent with her, and I can tell you that I have not. But let me tell you what I have felt privately. Sometimes I felt like, yeah, maybe I wasted my money. Sometimes I felt like maybe I trusted somebody I should not have. Maybe I felt inside that I was just being used for my own, you know, popularity and what I could gain and how I could help, because that's what it felt like sometimes. And then I thought, okay, well, nobody's ever proven this to you. This is for a bigger thing. This is for the Loa. You know, this is your destiny. And so I understand how a lot of people who get caught in certain situations like the Myriad could feel like it's impossible for them to go. And I'm talking about my former mambo. I left my voodoo house in October. Prior to any of this shit that happened with the Myriad. And I left quietly because of something that really, really hurt me. And I looked at my family, my voodoo family, some of my closest friends, and my godmother. And I said, they don't understand this. Why this is perfect plain English, how you should treat people. What's right and what's wrong. And they're not feeling me right now. So, you know, instead of getting to a point where I felt like I couldn't get out, or having the situation go in a way that I would not want it to go, where I couldn't even retain love for the people of that house, Spirit told me to leave my house. When I left my house, I did so quietly, and I didn't tell many people. But what I did tell them was the situation. I never, ever, ever said she was a fraud. Amber's here, Tiara's here, other members of the house, other people who have initiated. I have never done that to her. And for her to get on this fucking internet, block me and other people, and then put up this post about me and what I supposedly have said, show me the receipts, without even so much as talking to me first. Because I didn't do that. When I left my house, I went to each member that I had initiated that I could reach. I told them what the situation was. I told them why I was hurt. And I told them, I can't be put in situations where I have to fucking act disrespectful because I'm hurt. Because people won't do right. So I'm not going to participate anymore. I'm just going to move on. I'm going to keep myself over here in my life. Do me. And I love you. Because I honestly thought that maybe one day this situation would blow over. I thought that maybe given the opportunity for some of the people who were involved in the situation to actually think about what they had done, that we could actually reconcile, and that maybe I could go back to my house. Because if you notice, I didn't run out here and try to join no other organizations. I didn't try to follow the protocols, even within voodoo, to change my house. I didn't want none of that. But I think, and I understand, and maybe somebody will show her this, there are things that happen over here in the States she's not really connected with, and she misunderstands things. So maybe somehow, some way, she thinks that my posts about a completely unrelated situation have to do with me leaving my house. If that was the case, I would have talked about it back in October, y'all. The comments that I have made this week about frauds and the ones that have come out are people completely unassociated with my house. Okay? So everybody's talking about, she never told me to take the name Mambo off, and I honestly thought that she thought I'd be back, and I really think that she is misunderstanding the situation, because I haven't had anything to say about her, and this is me in public, and I got tons of friends, Facebook friends, mundane friends everywhere, and none of y'all have seen me run up in the inboxes on my Facebook statuses or anything. It sounds like she thinks that, hit dogs holler. Well, like I said, I can honestly tell you, even after this nastiness, even after her attempts to try to expose me, so now I'm not a mambo, now I didn't go in the show, I ain't pay my money, I didn't travel, I didn't bring people to you, so I'm not a mambo? Is that it now? And my whole thing is, why would you think this is about you? This has nothing to do with any of you. But if I am not a mambo, what does that make what she did? Does it make it invalid? And everybody's saying, you should leave your title up, and I was considering taking it down. I don't work as a mambo, y'all. But yeah, I would prefer if somebody would tell her something, because just like what made me leave the house, I wasn't given a chance before I was judged. That's why I left my house. A situation happened with our friends that was very unfortunate. One of them was over there initiating, and she basically didn't even ask me what was going on before she got upset with me and chastised me for some shit that I should not have been chastised for. But you all have to understand. Mother, look, my child is 18. It's hard being everybody's mother. It's hard being everybody's auntie. No, Spirit told me already that I had to leave. What Spirit didn't say was that I wasn't never going back. It's hard to follow Spirit. I try to tell you all these things. I try to tell you that when Spirit calls you to something or takes something away from you, that it's hard. And when Spirit told me that I had to leave my house, my voodoo house, because the way they believed and thought about how people should be treated was never going to be in line with the way I thought people should be treated. And honestly, just like anybody that comes out of a situation like that, you look back and you say, well, you saw that then, and you ignored it. I gave her grace on a lot of things. Always the benefit of the doubt. Anytime there was an issue, I went and talked to her, and I've had to mediate between situations that happens with people and her, people that were, initiating, because I was recruited to be the person who recruits people to become part of the house. And when I initiated, I asked my mambo, well, how do you want me to represent the house? And she said, be honest. Walk and be out here with integrity. Don't bring shame to our house. And in that mission, even though I was no longer a member of that house, I kept my peace. Even in a situation that I did not deem to be right, I kept my peace. I'm no longer in the house, and I most certainly didn't have to hold my peace about the Myriad, because women came to me to tell me what he'd done, and they told me not to tell nobody because they were scared. I have not been trashing her. None of my posts have been about her or my personal situation. But it's cool, y'all. Like I said, the thing she wrote about me in the screenshot that I'm going to put up as a comment, mind-blowing, hurtful. But now that I'm sitting here on all of this, not a surprise. I've always left things when I felt like they didn't work for my moral code. And being a witch, everybody has different moral codes. Some things are right for certain people and some things are not. I wasn't even going to speak on it. I spoke about people ostracizing you. And, you know, it's okay. You got to be okay with that. But then I received a screenshot of her status of the members of her house and how I am not a member of her house and that she's asked me to remove Mambo from my name. I have never had that request from her. Shortly before I left the house, there was a big thing about us having our rank, because some voodoo houses have lineages that have an Asan, and it makes you a high priestess. I even have the screenshot of when I was showing her that I was trying to do it, but there were some technical problems. They wouldn't let you put that many things in your name in Facebook, so I was trying to figure out how to do it, and she went off on me. She took that as me not wanting to do it. That's one of the things that I recall. And I had to have the patience and go back around and say, no, that's not what I'm doing here. I'm not trying to defy you. I don't care about saying that I'm a Mambo Supreme. I always have. I have on every website, on every social media bio. I've done that. We're instructed. And if you see it someplace, it's just Mambo. That is not done on purpose by me. It was an oversight. But I got really thrown on the carpet about that, and I didn't do that. So now she thinks that anything that I'm having to say about this situation with the Myriad has to do with anything that has to do with my former house. No. But goddamn, if the shoe fits, wear it. At the very least, if you think that's what I'm doing, come and ask me. And I thought about it. I thought that, you know, she's misunderstood certain things before that have had nothing to do with her. And I thought about, you know, reaching out to her and saying, hey, this is some American bullshit over here. This ain't got nothing to do with Haiti. But I ain't heard from her. And because I'm not a member of that house, you all have to understand that whenever I used to have to go after a situation, whether it related to our house or not, I talked to her first. If I felt like something that I was going to post was the least bit controversial, or if it was something related to voodoo, I checked with her first, talked to her. Not to get permission, see, it's all right, but to see what I was coming from and making sure that I didn't put a bad light on our house. And this is what I get in return. So I'm going to say this, especially to the members of my former voodoo house. I love Mambo. I love all of you. There are things that you have done and said that I do not like. There are things that I don't have to put up with as a grown-ass woman. But I never wished anybody ill will, lied on anybody in this situation. I don't have to. When you do good things, when you want to do right by people, you don't have to lie. So I'm sorry if there are lots of people I have pissed off this week. I've pissed off definitely Siete and the members that remain in the Myriad. I've pissed off any cult leader that's ever existed by taking a stand for victims. I've pissed off people who, when they talk about their culpability in this situation, I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking? What were you doing? But none of it had anything to do with my house. And she seems to think so, my former house. All I have said is that I'm not a member anymore. So that, first of all, people could be like, well, go back to her and be like, well, your godchild is out here causing all these problems in the streets, and you see how she's standing up to these predators and blah, 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 and concerned for my well-being. They do that because they're concerned for your well-being. They run back and talk to your mambo. I don't know what happened to make my mambo think that I did anything like what she accused me of doing in that post. Because I haven't been talking to y'all about that. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when you are in a situation where your religion, your beliefs, this is why the people from the Myriad didn't come out and talk. It's hard when you're in a secret society and things happen that you really can't or shouldn't talk about with other people. But trust and believe this. When I did speak to people outside of my house about leaving my house, it was to check myself. It was to make sure that I wasn't being disobedient, hard-headed, and inflexible. And that was it. And anybody who was there for those private conversations knows that. But I didn't owe Facebook, Instagram, none of these things. I did not owe anybody else an explanation. Right. It was all about me getting back to me. Because I just felt that that wasn't for me. That doesn't mean that it's not for somebody else. That's a judgment that you will have to all make on your own. But I'm really fucking devastated that she did that when I have held my peace. Because maybe some of the things that I have to say in my truth would dissuade someone from wanting to be in her house. Maybe it would make her look bad. Yeah, I considered that. I also realized there was absolutely no reason for me to go public for the reasons why I left my house. And then today, yes, messy. I didn't do anything, y'all. I didn't do anything in the events that led me up to leaving my house. I don't know. Should I tell them why I left the house, Ruth? Should I tell them what happened? Should I now say my truth now that I have been blocked and ostracized for no reason? Should I tell them? I stayed quiet. There's certain dignity in staying quiet. But in staying quiet, I actually didn't stand in my truth, and for that, it bothers me. But do know that I left my house because of extremely personal reasons. Things that I could not stand by. I left my house because I was betrayed. You know, story time. Because I'm tired of this. I know I don't owe anybody anything, but if you go and put my name in the street when I didn't do this to you, I never badmouthed you. So let's talk about what happened. Since I get to be lied on, okay? Listen, I'm not going to go into all of the things that I should have paid attention to. I'm not going to go into all of the things that I should have left earlier for. I'm just going to give you the situation that let me leave my house. Gentleman, Mark, came to work in my store last fall. When he came, he offered to volunteer, and I said, no, you're an outsider. So when none of us were getting a salary, you guys, nobody was getting a salary, okay? And that's one of the reasons why my stepdaughter left, because she thought that she should be getting paid, even though I was paying all of her expenses and her food and her rent. And if anybody has ever opened a new store, you know it's hard and ain't nobody getting no paycheck. But from the time that he showed up, anything that he did, from the rod that held the curtains to the displays that he made, to the cabinets that he hung, I paid him. And I have the receipts. Okay? Right. I stayed quiet. I can't keep being silent. So he gets to know Mambo. We send her some things that she needs, and they're big into crafting, and they become friends. All of a sudden, one day I hear that he is receiving an initiatory reading. He's white, y'all. My Mambo said she would never initiate a white person. I was surprised. On one hand, I thought, oh, well, this isn't gonna, people are gonna call me on my shit because of my stance about people of color only in voodoo and people of color only in hoodoo. And but then Spirit was like, yeah, but it has to happen. And I was like, it does? And then I said, okay, well, maybe it would be better, because there are some things that I can't talk to him about, because in business and with Mambo and stuff, and maybe it would be better if he became a Hunsi and there were some things that I could share with him that we're really not allowed to share outside the house, because it's really hard living in a house with people when you can't share certain information about why you're doing things like that, okay? So he sat in on the hoodoo classes because he was helping me. He was the only help I had. Trinity was working at Barnes & Noble because she needed to make a living, and my eldest wasn't helping at all. And he really showed himself, and I was like, okay, well, you can make things for the store, and I will pay you. Didn't even take a cut. He started giving 10% to the house of part of what he earned. Yeah, the voodoo classes. I had nothing to do with that. Later, at the end of this conversation, I was told that I asked for him to have an initiatory reading. I did not. So yeah, I had an issue with that, but that is not why I left the house. Everything, when Mark did the garden and he didn't live here, he got paid as if he was working at the store. I paid him. When he moved in, for reasons personal to him, because I had the space, He was to do things here in place of his rent, housework, gardening, things like that. But he was still getting paid at the store. He wanted to make the witch boxes. When my sister was here in May, I explained to him that those boxes had to be made in a way that we got them out quickly, but they were quality and they were worth what we charged. I said, you cannot fall behind on those, and those boxes have a 4 to 5 week waiting time, so that's more than enough time to get those boxes out. When the pandemic hit, he wasn't able to renew his driver's license. He was able to do that very quickly when he got his passport. It was about 3 weeks before initiation. I have been advised that by Reglamon that you're not supposed to have GoFundMes, get a loan from anybody, borrow anything, or you're initiating Mambo before you go into the JEVO. Okay? I offered him his airline expenses. I offered him spending money. He was my friend. Despite the fact that he was white, I cared about him, and I wanted to make sure, because they was going to have a special initiation for him in December if he didn't go. We agreed that he would pay me back out of his earnings slowly to pay off that expense. And he worked so hard that I didn't think it was going to be a problem. I thought it maybe took about 6 months for him to pay me back. At no time did I pay his initiation. At no time did I offer Mambo that I was going to send money for his initiation. That help totaled about $3,000. The $3,000 that I ain't seen, because he hasn't sent it to me yet. So he goes to Haiti. There's a situation there where some more money is needed, and as that happens, sometimes during initiation, and he messages me for additional funds for his initiation. He said Mambo told him I was going to send more money for his initiation, and I said no. I agreed to help send some more meal money and like bag fees for you getting things back, but we don't have it. And one of the reasons why we don't have it is because it's in your pocket. I had the store rent in my account. That was about it, and to pay you the utilities. And I had to cover that. Okay? So imagine my surprise. That was Sunday. I tore my rotator cuff reconditioning a cast iron skillet. He let rust his cast iron skillet, which he didn't take with him among a lot of things when he left. And then I go into my Facebook group, my customer group, and he has relisted the witch boxes. And my fridge broke down. Yeah, all kinds of shit happened. But that was spirit making me sit down. Now, the problem with Mark relisting anything is, first of all, talk to me first. But the second of all was when he left out of here in September to go to initiation, there were boxes, witch boxes that had been ordered in July that had not been shipped to customers. Me and Trinity were trying to help him fill the boxes so he could get them out before he leaves. We even told him that if we had time in between orders, we would work to get the boxes finished and send them out. But I said, for now, because you haven't sent the first ones to these customers, and I told him this before he left, we're going to take the witch boxes off the site for now. I said, now, right before you get ready to come back, we can relist them again, because hopefully we will have put all the stuff in these boxes and got them off to customers, and you can make some more money. So imagine my surprise when I wake up Monday, go into my customer group, and I see that he's relisted them on the website. And that's a problem. Chargebacks are a problem. Chargebacks can ruin your whole business. You know, when people report you as getting their money and challenging it because they haven't received a product. So that could really have impacted my POS, my inventory system, my website, everything. If my provider decided to take me down because people were not complaining because they did not receive the products that they ordered. And no way I was going to let that happen in my business. Absolutely no way. So I messaged him. And mind you, we are best friends, but we were best friends, close friends. But I was also his employer. And I told him, no fucking way. How dare you? I cussed him out. I don't even think I called him out of his name, but he did get cussed out, because if anybody knows me, when you do something wrong, you get cussed the fuck out. That's just the bottom line. When you do something like that, something that serious, there will be profanity that escapes from my lips. And when I did that, he had a panic attack, y'all. He had a complete fucking meltdown. I believe it was the day before they went into the Jevo. But see, the thing was, I wasn't fucking with him, because I understand when people are initiating, you don't bother them. The matters of the outside world should not matter when you're about to go into the Jevo. He the one on the internet, all the way from Haiti, putting shit on my website that he shouldn't. But he had a panic attack, y'all. I've heard stories from other people who have left the house as well, that he told them I was blocking his money. There was no money to get. He was in the red with me. There were no products that he'd sold where I could have sent him money. I didn't even take a cut, y'all. I didn't even do wholesale with him, because he helped me. He went back in at the beginning of COVID, when we were all scared to leave the fucking house, and processed the orders that I'd already received. I've been accused of stealing ideas. I've been doing witch boxes. So he, and I have a divination appointment, and I'm sorry that person's messaging me. I will have to divine for you on another day. So when I went off on him, and I still sent him $200 after I cussed him out so he would not be eating out of Mambo's pocket. I sure did. I sent him more money after that, just so that he could eat. I was mad at him. What went between an argument between two friends became betrayal, because he showed my text to his initiating sisters, and two of them went back to Mambo and told her what was going on. She promptly called me and left me a not so pleasant message. I got a recording that I needed to learn how to talk to people. And that basically what I had said or done to Mark wasn't right. And I was up, hold up, wait a minute. What do you mean? Do you know what he did? Do you know what's going on? No. Because unlike the other members of my house, I didn't run tell that when somebody was not doing the shit they wasn't supposed to be doing. That's my business. This was my house. This was the witch boxes I sold. I don't think membership in the house guaranteed me the vehicle to go run and tell Mambo. Because if I had run and told Mambo the things that I knew or thought about that man, just from a personal perspective as a friend, I never did that. He would not have been a candidate for initiation. At least I wouldn't think so, but who knows? Sometimes people who need the help the most maybe should be initiating. I don't know. Okay? And so when she got upset with me, and then I went into our WhatsApp group and told them that I was hurt, okay? Not one person wished me well. And that is when I knew. You know how you just sit someplace and you realize, don't nobody like you here. And I left. I first left the social group that we had. And then I spoke to her after speaking to him, because he was still, basically, he told me when he came in this house, after everything he's done for me in the 2 years he's been with me, I hadn't known that boy for a year. But I paid you. And I treated you with love, kindness, respect, and compassion. I treated you with compassion when you were going through it, by not demanding that you get these boxes out no matter what, by not running and telling Mambo that you weren't doing the things that you were supposed to do for me. Because see, that was between me and you, so why would I go back and run to tell Mambo anything? And so I was just like, I haven't even known you for 2 years. I've paid you for everything. I have receipts. I get invoices from everybody. And I'm going to tell you this, that both Mambo and he were the only 2 people that I ever paid prior to a service being offered. So when Mambo would teach classes, I would depend on her to keep her word and teach these classes and send her the money prior to the class being taught. With Mark and those witch boxes, he'd been paid for them already. Why? Because he was earning the money to pay for his initiation. When we had a sale and he did things to help with that sale, that was his money that he earned that paid to his initiation. I paid them both. So when she, you know, me and her talked about it over and over again. There's a lot of moving parts here about why I was angry about what had happened, because I'd been the most faithful, honorable person in that house, and definitely one of the most financials. I had it to give, but I'm not rich, y'all. I paid proceeds from the store to help support the house. There are other things that have occurred during my tenure in that house that had nothing to do with me that I did not agree with, but I did not speak on those things. I did not speak to her, or I did not speak publicly. If sometimes I did speak to her, and you know, as a objective viewpoint, or an, you know, hey, you might want to consider this, that, and the other when there were issues. But I did that. I also, you can't trust them, but I had to listen to Spirit all the way along with this, because if my Mambo told me that the Lawa said that is what's supposed to happen, that's what's supposed to happen. But also being an adult and having my own judgment and my own capability, I divined on whether or not he should initiate. I divined on this situation, and they were like, look, you don't understand this now. I laid on my back for a week when I didn't even turn on the television, when I hurt myself. Okay? Trying to get rid of notification. I disobeyed her in obeying her by not speaking out about how I felt about someone who was not black or a person of color initiating. When she said that he had to initiate, I was just like, okay. Didn't matter how I felt about it. Yeah, I guess it is fine and good for me to come and turn around now and tell you all that I was against it. But the people who know me the best know that I was not for this. But at the same time, I realized that in my scope as a Mambo Suquin, I don't run her house. And because I listen to Spirit, I said, okay. And yeah, Spirit said it had to happen, all right. I just didn't know it was going to come to this. And so when I didn't get the benefit of the doubt, when my own members of my house went to run back to tell my Mambo that I had chastised my employee for not getting my customers the shit they ordered in a timely manner, and I got called on the fucking carpet for it, I decided it was time to go. That's it. That's the juice. That's the tea. That's the story. And that was personal to me. It wasn't about frauding anybody. It wasn't even about her initiating a white man. But that was the motherfucking straw that broke the motherfucking camel's back. That at the end of the day, yes, for cussing him out, for listing things on the website that he hadn't sent to customers who've been waiting for months for their products. I don't know why he didn't get the boxes done before he left. I knew that he spoke to the customers and they were cool with it. But, you know, people's patience run out. I know mine did. Shit, I waited 6 months for toilet paper from a black-owned company. Eventually, people's patience run out, and I did not want to be at the receiving end or when my customers' patience ran out and they didn't have their boxes. But then they see they're posted again, and they don't know who lists them other than in the customer group. He went in the customer group. I wouldn't have even known that the boxes had been relisted had I not gone into my customer group and I saw that. You know, but the thing is like everybody's like, oh, all of these protections and all of this stuff. I live my life by that. People don't understand. If you don't think that your spirits are going to protect you, then why are you doing this? You know, when you're not out here fucking with people and you're not doing anything wrong to people, why would spirits come after me? I was never threatened with that. Mambo gave me a very good piece of advice as I left the house. She told me to make sure that I really embraced the balance and the coolness of Dumbala so that I didn't go out here unbalanced and angry and raging. And I took that to heart. I've taken that to heart in the whole way that I have handled this situation. But if I'm in a place where I feel like I'm not supported and I'm really trying to do my best to help her and the house and the people of Haiti, she told me that she was doing me a favor by teaching voodoo classes on my website. And I said, how so when I'm sending you all of the money? I don't even take the 10% I take from the other instructors. I only take 10% from my instructors. Okay? When I'm sending everything to you minus the processing fees, that's fucking insulting. And I told her that. She told me that a few weeks before all of this went down. All I wanted to do was help in the situation that concerned the Myriad. All I wanted to do was help. I went to people in the community where it mattered when I found out these accusations, where I was given permission by the victims, and I couldn't do anything. But I don't know what they've accused me of, what they think I'm saying, what I have done, but I have done none of that. So maybe somebody who doesn't have me blocked can let her know this. So you're going to have to watch it over again. But I'm being accused of besmirching my former Mambo and my former house. And even where I think that I might have had cause to do that, because my feelings were hurt, because it was over money. Not even money I held in my hand, y'all. I didn't have any money to give. I have to make sure that my rent is paid on my store. I have to make sure that these bills are paid because we are just getting along. Do you think I had just $3,000 that I could just throw away on somebody else's travel expenses? I did it from love. And I've kept my peace out of love. And there's a lot of things that I could say, a lot of observations that I've made, a lot of things people have come told me about my own initiation, why they don't believe it's valid. I've had a lot of people hating on my Mambo for a long time. And I always stood up for her. And I never besmirched her. You know? I've also had all of her confidences when shit did go wrong. Rachel, I know about your situation. I also know about her side. But at no point did I came to you when there was an issue. I didn't go on Facebook. I didn't go rallying the crowds against you. Hold on. This is, the phone's about to die. But I did go to Rachel when she had a problem when she was prior to initiation, and I talked about her, the problem that Mambo said she was having with her when I got permission from Mambo to come and talk to you about it. And I've done that with every single member of this house whenever there's been a problem. But I have not run that woman in the street. A lot of times, yeah, you know, and they may be throwing at me now, but, you know, I've done my divination. I didn't leave my house without doing divination about how I would end up. I initiated for two reasons. I initiated for protection and for knowledge. And when I left my house, it was a really hollow, sad feeling that, man, I'm not going to be protected like I was, you know, and that I wouldn't get the knowledge that I wanted to have to serve as a voodoo priestess in my community. It hurt. But I had to do what was right for me and what was right for so many others who decided that they did not want to be part of that organization anymore. And that's it. No widespread abuse. She wasn't out here ordering us to do anything to anybody. You know, I don't get it. But, you know, I don't know who's been throwing at who, because I don't do that type of stuff, though. You have to really, really do some real vile shit for me to come for you. This shit on the internet, you know, people talking shit about me being a fraud, trying to besmirch my bad name. I left them people to their own devices. And you know what? A lot of times Spirit says that you just got to let people be who they are, and they their own worst enemy. Okay? And that's what I usually do with most people. But yeah, I felt that, you know, personally, there's a lot of stuff I felt personally about that whole situation, and why my voodoo sisters wouldn't come and talk to me, because this poor white man is over here having a panic attack because he can't handle getting cussed out by me. He'd been cussed out before when he did shit that I considered to be out of pocket. Like going back to my daughter and saying some shit that wasn't true. He got cussed out for that. Misconstruing situations. And I let him come back here. And he was supposed to stay until the end of the year, and he abruptly decided to leave. And left a lot of stuff here, and a lot of stuff I can't even use. So you know, he still has the laptop from my business. All I wanted was peace. I'd expressed that to her. I'd left several voice messages, you know, because he was putting inflammatory things on his Facebook wall. People who knew about the situation, the very few people who knew about the situation were sending to me, and I'm like, what's all of this? Yes, all of this could have been avoided with mature conversations. All of this would have been solved by people actually believing I am who I say I am. In all matters of all of this. But to see that post and to see how she has told me to use my government name to remove the name Mambo from my name, I'm going to do that. I don't need a title. I was never seeking a title. I was seeking to follow my calling. One that I believed was very much in line with my principles, my moral code. I followed my Mambo, and she was the third Mambo that I'd considered initiation with. And because I believed in her. because we were very close. Probably have had interactions in past lives. But I'm not a practicing mambo. I don't use voodoo in my work. I use voodoo as my religion. They're the spirits that support me and help me and bless me. Voodoo was enough for magic, and I've been studying other magical traditions as well my whole career. I never once, when anybody came with a voodoo issue, they can tell you, if you needed work with the Loa and spell work, I referred you to my mambo, because I believe in staying in my lane. I believe in being humble to the spirits, to the creator, to our ancestors, and understanding the power that they possessed. And I really didn't feel that given an initiation, because the initiation is simply the beginning of a lifelong learning process, that I could do spell work through voodoo for people. But I should. I knew I could. But I never did it. You've never seen me on here teaching voodoo classes. You've never seen me on here trying to straighten out somebody about the Loa. When somebody had questions, I always deferred to her. And the thing about voodoo is there's reglement, there's rules for service, and I think there's rules for how you are supposed to conduct yourself, but that is all oral. And it is also known that a mambo or an ungan in their particular house can put down different taboos and edicts and things like that just for the people of that house, and that is at that mambo and ungan's discretion. So you have to trust these people impeccably when you sign up for that. And I did. And I didn't have a personal reason not to distrust her. This was not about whether people are getting authentic initiations. This is not about anything that she said in that post. I think she's confused. I think that she thinks I'm talking about her when I was talking about the situation with the Myriad. But as what came for me to have to leave my house, I wasn't listened to, y'all. I wasn't given the benefit of the doubt in a situation that really didn't have shit to do with the house, other than the fact that he was initiating and that I had promised to send him some spending money. That's it. You know? I guess maybe she did think that I was going to come and besmirch her good name. But yes, what I have experienced with my mambo is that she doesn't hear me. And also I think that she thinks that these little digs and things that might have hit a nerve with her was me directing things at her. Like I said, organized religion, houses, priests and priestess, you know, it's not for me. Because I don't want to be in a situation of groupthink. I don't want to be in a situation of pile on. Yes, I did delete the girls who went back and told Mambo without speaking to me first that I had cursed Mark out. And then she read what I told him. And one of the things is that you should not allow people to come over and initiate who have not finished paying for their initiation. And I had said that over and over again. I'd said it in the customer group. I've said it to her, not in the customer group, in our personal group, and I insist that there are people that still owe her money. I've had many, many conversations with her about it. Don't let them come. Let them come when they get the money. So she told me in a later conversation that she wasn't upset about what I said to Mark. Now, all of a sudden, I'm not a shitty person for cussing him out for not doing his job. Now that she understands the situation. Okay? And she told me that she was not upset with what I said to him, but what I said about her. And I'm like, what? That you shouldn't have to give your last dime to support this house, that the house should support you? That you shouldn't let people take advantage of your kindness and come over and initiate when they haven't finished paying you? Where have we not had this conversation before? Where was I disrespectful? Why are you mad because I'm saying the obvious? And in the end, it was expressions of how much we loved each other. And the things that she wanted me to watch out for because of this big, bad, magical, shitty world. And that was the last time I spoke to her. She wished me a happy Thanksgiving, but I'm not on WhatsApp, so I didn't see it till today when I went to go and ask her what's going on. Why are we blocked? I'm not the only person that she blocked, but for her to then list the people of her house and then tell me that she's told me, right. People, I have watched people to this day not fulfill their financial requirements in that house. And people have their own feelings about why they did or didn't, or situations. That's not my place to judge. But, you know, try to structure things around a way that, you know, people in the house, they can't pay donations or whatever every month. Well, at least make them pay for the classes that you teach. You know, something. So that we can have an equal exchange of energy here and you don't feel like people are taking advantage of your kindness. These are the conversations I've had with my mother. But, you know, one of the things I've learned about magic and the magical community is that a lot of people don't feel like they belong. One of the things that gets us tied up in groups and cults and different things like that is finally finding a home. Finally finding somebody that understood and got you. And I really did think that was the case when I initiated. And the moment that I saw, and I can't even say the moment that I saw because there's a number of moments that led up to my decision. But at the crucial situation when I decided to leave the house for those reasons, you know, I realized that belonging to something, you know, that you think where people get you, if you don't belong there, if you find that you don't belong there, it's not going to serve you or them to stay. And I just realized that wasn't my tribe. And I was disappointed in the people who judged me unjustly without coming to talk to me about why I'm handling my business the way I think my business should be handled. And that means that when customers buy things, you do every fucking thing you can. I have to go to that store today. I have to go to that store tomorrow. We're finishing the last of the Black Friday orders. That's how, you know, we hand make things. It takes a while. I had a wholesale order that set me back. And when customers are late, I call them. I give them coupons. I throw a little extra in their box. You know, I do really try to do what's right by my customers. And, you know, he said he was emailing them and they were cool with it, but I didn't know I wasn't copied on those emails. And I fucked around and trusted somebody that I cared about to do right by my customers. And he did. He got back here and he made the boxes. They went out. When he left my house, and really we had a very discouraging text message because I was asking him where something was and he said I was accusing him of taking it, which I wasn't. I deleted him as a friend on Facebook because I'm like, we ain't friends no more. I didn't even know how we could fix what happened when he went to Haiti, the betrayal. I didn't know. I looked for ways to heal that friendship. I looked for ways to even think, and I've told people this, that, you know, hey, maybe it's just me being in my feelings, and maybe one day I'll have to go back to my house, you know, crawl back on my hands and knees and say it was my pride. I really kind of thought that might happen one day. No. You know, I just find when I'm not good in a situation or for a situation that I leave that situation, and that's what I did. I did not drag her in the streets. I did not call her a fraud. I did not discourage people to initiate. The worst thing I did was tell my friends what happened. And yes, some of those friends were interested in initiating. And I wanted to talk to these friends, a very small circle of people, and see if I was wrong. Check myself before I wreck myself. Maybe this was not worth me leaving the house. Maybe this is not that big of a deal. Maybe it would have all blown over and you can reconcile. That's what I thought. So somebody sent me a screenshot of what she wrote. It hurt me. I'm disappointed. Not surprised. I'll put it in the comments. Somebody sent it to me because I'm blocked. I don't do people like that. I unfriended people that I thought weren't my friends. I ain't blocked nobody. But I just felt like friends talk to each other. And if you don't think I've talked over and over and over and over to him about the boxes and how important it was to get them out in a timely manner, I got a lot of witnesses that will tell you otherwise. And, you know, somebody who still has access to her page, when they saw me being called out, they sent it to me. You know, the bottom line is, even in this situation with the Myriad, I never called him a fraud. I don't have any evidence of that personally. Everybody else is. Everybody else is producing receipts. I got my own receipts when I spoke to him about what I realized what was going on. And I never shared those with anybody. And I showed my circle of friends the conversation I had with him only yesterday. So when people come and be like, oh, well, Elizabeth Ruth knew about this situation and didn't say anything, I've been very transparent about the women that came to me in that situation and why I didn't say anything. Number one, it wasn't my house. Number two, I was requested not to. These are all grown people. But I think that somehow, some way, in this situation, simply because I stated I'm not part of any house or any organization, because if there is something that ever goes down with that organization, and it was because of something that I'd said and people didn't listen to me, I was going to feel some kind of way about it. You can't make people behave in the way that you think is right. Everybody's version of right, everybody's truth is different. There's right and wrong, no. And so I can't speak to what has worked well for the people who have initiated in my house and what has worked poorly. That's their story to tell. If I'm not willing to sit up here and tell all of the details that did accumulate and lead to my decision to leave my house with anybody, that's my business. And I like to keep my business personal. And only when forced, because the whole thing with Siete, I wasn't going to say shit because I was asked not to, until somebody else in a group tried to rope me in and say I'm a fraud too, and I ain't have shit to do with that. And I certainly wasn't speaking about the reasons why I left my house. It was nobody's business. So I'm really sorry that you all have had to be exposed to the nastiness of our faiths. But understand, when I left my house, I did not leave voodoo. Voodoo has been with me all my life, and I just had to learn. When I left my house, I lost my ability to learn and to grow through that organization because it wasn't for me. It had nothing to do with anything else. And I really hate that I had to tell this story because I do look foolish. People are going to be like, well, that's what she gets for letting a white boy come in and help. But honestly, he was the only one that would. I've had several interns and different people, black people, my own stepdaughter working for me, that did not work as hard as he did. They didn't really work at all, or then my only help in this COVID was people that I could not guarantee were quarantining. And so that was my only help, and I wanted to get my orders out to my customers, and he worked hard. But those are my products, my formulations. There's accusations that I've stolen formulations from a book, but my mentors, when I worked at the voodoo store, could tell you that I made those. All the formulations that I use, I made myself. And yes, of course, I looked at books to make sure my correspondences were correct. I even asked Mambo advice on certain things when I was doing a spell or a formulation. And I haven't stolen anything from anybody. I'm without words, y'all. I'm really without words. I sometimes think that there is no place in this world for honest people. I've always suffered because I've told the truth, and sometimes told the truth to people who didn't want to hear it or didn't want to receive it. I've always talked to people when I've had conflict with them and worked things out. And I thought that it was very clear when I left the house what I felt. If I felt like I was going to go and run and tell everybody in the streets about my experience, I would have let her know that too. But I didn't. And it's sad that we have to use these methods of social media to express ourselves when all that was necessary was a phone call. But yeah, and that's the theme for all of this. And I love the fact that you're still my customers and that you will trust me, you know, but I never did any of this for money, y'all. And I didn't open a store because I wanted to be the biggest black occult supplier at one time, and I've had to really rethink that because my goals have now changed. But I figured if I was going to do it, I was going to do it big, right? And the only reason why I opened a store here is because there are no solely black-owned Botanicas occult stores or anything like that in the central Ohio area, maybe all of Ohio. And I think about when my lease ends and what I want to do with my life and how a lot of my life has gone to being at that store and taking care of this business when I didn't really think this was the way. I did this so my stepdaughter would have a career. I was going to give the store to her. I did this so that occultists in the community could have a place to sell their magical wares. I did this so that we could have a gathering spot where we were safe. And, you know, fuck what anybody else has to think or do about why I do what I do, why I say what I say, who I am. I have no problems letting people know who I am. But I swear to God that I ain't do what they said I did. I did not go and disparage my house or my mambo, no matter how wrong I thought they were in their treatment of me. I never went and said anything to anybody that would indicate that I was out here trying to bash her good name or convince people that I don't even know not to join her house. I don't even know half the people in the house anymore because I've been busy working. There's a lot of things I've missed out on because of my devotion to my mission. No, I'm not quitting. There's no need for that. I am going to take Mambo off my name because it leaves a bitter taste in my mouth now. Everybody wants to sit up and say, you've earned this. But I have earned what? Especially when I'm not even using that title in my work with customers. I was a diviner before I initiated. I was a hoodoo before I initiated. I was a witch before I initiated. And I'm going to stay true to who I am. And I hope that people will look at what, not what people say, what people do, and act accordingly. That's right. I had to do what made my soul settled, and leaving the house for me settled my soul. At no time did I convince anybody else. People came to me with their own issues and their own concerns, and I talked to them, and I always encouraged them to talk to Mambo. But in no time have I been out here running her name in the streets. But maybe she figures like she's next because maybe she thinks I'm on a roll because of this myriad shit. I don't know, but I know I've talked too long. I divined before I left my house. I divined. I sought the divination of someone I'm very close to and trust. To step outside myself. And like, you know, is this the right thing to do? Am I protected? Am I gonna have any backlash for this? And, you know, made my decision accordingly. That's what a grown person should do, especially when they take a stance to leave someplace where they don't feel like they're valued or listened to. That's my story. And I really don't have anything else to say about it. Well, honestly, Kenya, you know, that sign cost $1,500 for that store, and I figured when the lease ended that I'd just go back to plain old Big Liz Conjure. If I decided not to have a store or if I changed stores. That name was given to me by her. She wanted all of us to have the Loa in the names of our businesses, which is why it wasn't Big Liz Conjure in the first place. And I said, okay, it's pretty. I like it. I said, what you doing here? The Divine Feminine Hoodoo. I liked it. I didn't disagree with her on a lot of things much. I might have disagreed sometimes with her approach. But, yeah. That's it, y'all. And I appreciate that you love me. I like people that, you know, see me for who I am and care about who I am. But you guys have to understand that I'm not anything for anybody. I'm who I am for me. And if people like that about me, love that about me, get down with me about me, then yeah, who cool. Hang out with me. Learn from me. Buy stuff from me. But I'm the way I am for me. Because I love me. I knew there was going to be problems when I left my house. You have to be absolutely stupid to think that you can walk away from basically your church family and there wouldn't be any ramifications. I fully expected people at some point to want to pick sides and do all of that. And I also wanted to sit here and let it happen. I did not want to be the one to air ugly private business in public. Business that would not have affected anybody else because, like I said before, he took a situation that could have been an argument between two friends, involved my spiritual family. I received a reprimand from my spiritual mother unjustly, and I had to deal with that. He betrayed me because he fucked up. And if you think that I want to talk to people about that or to tell people I was foolish enough to allow someone to come in and be my assistant that would eventually turn their back on me, yeah, that does make you feel a little foolish. I should have been able to see it, but guess what? Yes, he is. But when I saw it, and I know that, I know the law will not punish me for doing what's right. Otherwise, why am I doing this? But I knew that one day, yeah, I'd probably have to speak on it publicly. I didn't want to. Because I didn't feel like that may be somebody else's experience. It was me. And now I have to. And so you got my video, my words, my face. I made mistakes. I trusted people I shouldn't. I loved people I shouldn't. That's my only fucking crime here. And that is why I left my house. No other reason. Yeah, that was another thing, that black women would listen to him first and foremost and not listen to me. Whatever happened to hashtag believe black women? That my own initiatory mother would call me on the carpet for cussing his ass out for not filling my client's orders. I do have a big heart. And I keep getting taken advantage of over and over again by the people that I care about as a result. And that's not going to stop me from helping people. That's not going to shake my faith in what I believe in. Definitely never going to stop loving the Loa, practicing voodoo, or practicing magic. I don't see that happening because that's me. But I will be more insular in the people that I choose to have me around when I do so. The people that I choose to have around me. And that may mean that I spend a lot of time by myself. I might have to close myself off energetically to certain people, places, and things. But at all costs, protect your spirit. At all costs, protect your heart. Bye, everybody.